Hi, my name is Graham Gunther, and I work with Civic Intelligence LLC. And today I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about Google Hangouts Meet and how you can use that for your next school board meeting. Of course, due to the current COVID-19 situation, a lot of schools are looking at conducting their board meetings remotely, and Google Hangouts Meet is a good tool for that. So today we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. We're going to look at Google Calendar, and then we'll take a look at Hangouts Meet itself. Before we begin, I would like to point out that this video is for informational use only. If you have any legal questions, please consult a lawyer. So first, let's take a look at Minnesota Open Meetings Law, and we're going to look at a few parts of Subdivision 1. If we look at Subdivision 1, here we can see that a board member, the board chair specifically, can determine that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of a health pandemic. So during this situation with the health pandemic, this would likely be applicable, so the board chair would be able to make that determination. Number 2 is also important, that all of the members, wherever their physical location, can hear one another and hear all discussion and testimony. Using Google Hangouts Meet, we'll be able to do that. For number 3 and 4, they're a little bit similar. It involves somebody being present in the physical location, but there is an exception due to a health pandemic, so we're going to skip through those. But of course, if you think that may apply to your situation, make sure to take a look at that. And finally, number 5, make sure that all votes are conducted by roll call, so each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. So make sure for any vote that you go one at a time to make sure that all of the members can be identified for their vote on each of the issues. So now that we know a little bit about the statutes, let's take a look at Google Calendar. This is how we'll be able to schedule our meeting. So I'm going to create one for tomorrow, let's say 5 o'clock, and we'll say maybe it takes an hour and a half. I think a lot of school boards have different lengths of meetings, so maybe you can make it more appropriate for your situation. But we'll call this the March board meeting. And down here, this is important, it says add conferencing. This is where you want to add Google Hangouts Meet. And this is going to give you a conference room that you can use. Below that, you have a notification. I'm just going to turn that off for today. And one other thing to point out that I would like to mention is down here, you can add an attachment. So I'm going to add these 2 attachments. We're going to add a March meeting agenda and the meeting minutes. And these files will be able to be seen while you're actually in the meeting by everyone. So we're going to save this. And you can see if we go back in now, it gives us a few options. First of all, it gives us a link to join the meeting. So if I clicked on this, we can join the meeting. It also gives us some information to join by phone. So we can actually call in and join the meeting that way, or we can even have Google call us if we want to do that. And then below that, we have our 2 meeting files. So when you're ready to have the meeting, if you go to the Meet tab in your Google Suite, you can see the upcoming meeting. So you can see here we have our 10 o'clock meeting that just started now. So I'm going to click on that to join the meeting. And that's going to bring up another screen. So this screen has a little bit of information that can be helpful. Here I am again. You can see microphone and camera. So if you need to turn one of those on or off, that would be the place to do it. And I would like to point out the join and use a phone for audio button here. If you do not have a computer with a microphone, or if you have some sort of technical limitation and you want to use a phone for your audio instead of the computer, you can click that button and they can give you a call, and you can use your phone throughout the meeting, listen in, and talk to people that way. So it's really a good option if you don't have the appropriate technology. Maybe you're missing a broadband internet connection, or maybe it's just someone who is not very technologically savvy and you just want to present them with an easier option. So that would be one way to do that. Then above that, we have a couple of options. We have present here. So let's say that you have a PowerPoint presentation or something like that that you want to use during the meeting. You can click that button and you can have some different options for presenting that to everyone in the group. But we're just going to join now and take a look at what this looks like. So you can see we have a few buttons here, so I'm just going to go through some of the things down here. And so we'll start over here. This is our meeting. We can open it up and it gives us some important information. If we look down to the joining info, we can see that we have the link to our meeting, and we also have the phone numbers to dial into. So this information is very useful to post on your meeting notifications, so any members of the public would be able to join the meeting with this information. The second thing I would like to point out are the attachments tab. If you remember, we added a couple of attachments back in our calendar. We can see those here. So this can be really interesting if you have your secretary recording minutes. Anyone can actually open up this document and see what they are typing throughout the meeting. So it's a great way to really follow what's going on in the meeting and pay attention that way. Down in the middle, we have our microphone and camera buttons again. So if you need to turn one of those on or off, this is the place. And of course, you have the leave call button. So when you're done with the meeting, make sure to hit that button to leave the call. Over here, we have a couple more buttons. One of them is Present Now, which you saw earlier. If you have a PowerPoint presentation in the middle of the meeting, this would be a place to hit Present Now, and it'll give you a few options for how you want to do that, and you can present at that time. Now, one other button that may be useful for the meeting is to turn on captions. Once you do this, Google will listen to the audio and try to caption it as best as it can. And I've used it a little bit and found it to be pretty accurate. So this is a great way to involve people that might be hearing impaired to be able to follow the meeting that way as well. So it's a really cool technology, and I recommend that you use it for the meetings for anyone that might need that assistance. And the last thing I would like to point out, down here, is if you open up this three-dotted menu, we can see a few different things. The one I would like to point out is record meeting. So recording meetings is a great way for people to look at them at a later time. So what you can do is when you hit record meeting, it will go to the Google Drive. And so you can find it in the Google Drive later, and at that point you could post it to the website so anyone could see the meeting that you had. So it's a great way to maintain public accountability for online meetings. So the last thing I would like to point out would be the menu up top. If you click on this, you can see all of the people that would be in the meeting. And you also have a chat area if anyone wants to use that for your meeting as well. And so the last thing I would like to point out before we get going is, once again, remember for voting to use roll call procedures. So one person at a time to vote, just to make sure that you have public accountability and you follow the open meetings law. So I'm going to turn off captions for a second there so it's less distracting. The last thing I would like to point out is we do offer free 20-minute consultations. So if you want any additional help with using Google Hangouts Meet, or if you are using other software, we're familiar with other things such as WebEx, Adobe Connect, Microsoft Teams, or Zoom, we can also offer 20-minute consultations to help you out. And either way, we also provide extended meeting support if you need it. So if you have any further questions or follow-up for us, we have some information down below, or you can go to civicintel.com to find out more information. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope all of your meetings go well during this situation, and hopefully we can get back to normal pretty soon. Thank you, and have a nice day.